Hello, everyone. My name is Bill Reese. For those who don't know me, I'd like to share a story with you all. My story, a true story. Before I get into this, let me tell you a little about myself. I'll soon be 54 years old. I've been a career firefighter for coming up on 25 years. I have a beautiful family, and I'm a Christian. I've been blessed all of my life with more than I could ever hope for. Seriously, from the day I was born, I was well liked, I was athletic, I had a great family and friends, I did well in school, I went to college, I then chose a career, and I've been overall healthy my entire life. Life has been really good to me. I would imagine if you were to ask someone that really knows me, they would respond as, I'm a lucky man and I've been very fortunate. With that being said, I'm soon coming up on my annual, what I call my celebration of life, September 26th. That's today. It's been 2 years ago now, so this will be my second one. So 2018 was a year. This, my friends, was a very bad year. This is a year that you could erase everything I told you about myself previously. Although it being the worst year of my life, if it wouldn't have been such a bad year, I would have never had a chance to grow and experience the life I'm having now. And that I am thankful for. What I get into next is not to make excuses, but rather explain how things could change so fast in any of our lives. I hope this can prepare or even help someone that may be experiencing their own problems. So 2018 started off like any other year, but as the months rolled by, I lost a fellow firefighter friend who was a lot younger than myself. I lost an older gentleman in a fire that I was first on scene that I'd run a lot of calls on. I lost my dog of 10 years that I got as a puppy, and I lost my mother to a rare disease which I witnessed her suffer for about a month. I've obviously seen many deaths throughout my years, especially in the career I'm in, but still, it never seems to get any easier, and all these things happen in a very short period of time. I realize that this is part of life, and everyone will experience like things sooner or later. But after that month of witnessing the last, I was just plain tired. I was worn out. Enough was enough. I remember driving back after a funeral from Pennsylvania to Florida, and this is hard to explain, but it seemed like everything changed, not only mentally but physically for me that night. It was that feeling you get like when you're sitting in a dentist chair. The dentist just gave you a shot of Novocaine, he starts grinding out a cavity. Your body gets stiff, you try not to move, your butt cheeks are clenched together. Well, something like that, if you could relate. It wasn't too long after being back in Florida, I started to get really anxious at work. I didn't really care to leave the house, and I was lucky if I slept even a couple hours a day, even though I lay around most of the time. My family, friends, and myself knew I needed to get some help. I started off by seeing a psychologist that was listed on my employee assistance program at work. She recommended me to a psychiatrist for medications. A couple months had passed and things weren't really getting any better. They were getting a lot worse, really worse. It was then recommended by my psych that maybe I should take a leave of absence from work till things got better. Unfortunately, I took her advice and things didn't get better. They just kept getting worse and worse. I'm still not sure if it was the different medications, the lack of sleep, or if I just gave up, or even a combination of all of them. Things got really complicated in my own mind, and I felt as though this is how I'd spend the rest of my life. It was a mess. My life had got completely turned around in just a few short months. I was feeling guilt. I was unable to make decisions. I was paranoid. I felt I wasn't loved. I had no motivation. I felt I had some type of disease. I lost over 30 pounds. I had no goals. I quit on myself. I gave up. Yep, I gave up. I was a quitter. That's the thing that rings in my head. I've always hated to lose. I've always liked to win, and I never gave up on anything in my life. But now I was quitting on myself. How could this have happened to me? Why is this happening to me? The good thing during all this, my family, a few good friends, and God wasn't going to let me quit. My wife realized I was making no progress, so she was trying the best for me and to get her husband back. She ended up contacting the IAFF Center of Excellence. This is a facility in Maryland that deals with substance abuse and or mental health for firefighters and EMS. You would have thought I'd have been thrilled to get that kind of help and support, but in my state of mind, it was just the opposite. I remember thinking that she had just had enough of me, wanted to get rid of me. So I played along with it, knowing all along that I would never go. I started to make my own plan at this point. Why would I make my own plan in this state of mind? I don't know. At this point, I was blaming God and my family as to why this was happening to me. I had too many responsibilities. Nobody else did anything. It was all me, me, me. So by this time, I had countless medications, as you would think, trying new ones that might work, which they didn't. And I started experiencing on how many would do what to me because I had enough. This brings us to the day I was supposed to leave for Maryland. I already told you I wasn't going to go. So I waited that morning for everybody in my house to do their normal routine, and I knew I wouldn't be bothered for a few hours. I then choked down 2 bottles of medications, plenty enough to kill a horse. I quit. I gave up. I don't remember much the rest of that day, other than before that I prepared for no interference with my plan. I was set. So I placed my phone on silent and I went to sleep. That was the end of my story. So I thought. So happens God intervened. He had different plans today, and he changed mine. An old friend happened to call me approximately an hour later on my phone that was on silent, and I answered it. I hadn't talked to him for quite some time, and at the time, I really didn't care to either. He was calling to see how I was doing. He told me I garbled a few words and knew something was wrong, and called an ambulance and my wife. By the time the fire department and ambulance arrived, I had a very low pulse and no blood pressure. I was pretty much unconscious. I was given some medication to speed up my pulse and increase my blood pressure and transported to the hospital. I survived. It was a miracle. Given the amount of pills I took, answering a phone that was on silent, answering to a friend I haven't talked to and didn't want to, coincidence not. With that being said, you can only imagine where that action led me to be. Once clear with the hospital, I was handcuffed and taken to a closest mental facility. I was in handcuffs. I remember pleading with the officers to please just let me walk to the cruiser without the handcuffs. I knew for sure my family, co-workers, and friends were watching. I was a disgrace. I never understood how somebody could do that to themselves, let alone me. Well, he was a good officer, and he kindly explained to me that he wished he could, but he had to do his job right, especially with possible spectators. Turns out, I didn't notice anyone watching, and it was all in my head. So we drove on to the facility. This week I spent at the facility seemed like eternity, and I pray that you will never find your way there. I don't have any details, mostly because I don't remember much. I just know I wanted out. When I finally got released, my family and best friend was waiting for me in the car, packed and ready to head straight to Maryland. So I spent over a month in Maryland. The facility there took a totally different approach. They pretty much took all the medication I was on and they started fresh. 6 days out of the week was like attending school from 9 to 5. I believe there's about 60 people that would come and go. I met a lot of good people with the same interests and worries. I remember thinking how so much alike we really are, but yet so different, so many different stories. I heard many sad stories from drug abuse, family problems, work problems, mental and health problems, people that had lost everything, and people that had nothing to go back to. What was I doing here? I had just a few worries compared to most of them. I have a family that loves me. I have a job that wants me back. I don't have a drug addiction. Fairly healthy. Things started to fall back in place, except for that weird feeling that I told you about earlier. Thinking back to when I was there, what helped me the most wasn't the staff, although they were good, but my fellow brothers that I had met. Although if it wasn't for this specific facility, I would have never met any of them. So after I returned home, there was no slow break-in period. My wife had sold her house, we're in the process of moving, and I was trying to get back to work. I was feeling a lot better, not 100%, but now mainly carrying around guilt for what I've done. Now I completely disregard the effect that it might have placed on my family and friends. It took a long time, but I finally came to peace and accepted that this is in the past and it cannot be undone. So it's been 2 years now. Things have been really good. I'd actually say great. God has placed his hands on my heart and he continues to bless me. I know every day is a gift and I don't take it for granted. What I've learned is there's a battle going on for your soul, and evil strikes whenever you're the most vulnerable. So don't blame God for all your problems and your worries. I did. It didn't work. He loves all of us regardless of our past. So if you are struggling, know that you are loved. If you have worries, ask him for help. He's listening. Know that you are not alone. Be open and talk to someone you trust and know that we'll have your best interest. Don't be ashamed because we all sin, we all worry. Never doubt that he will show miracles in your life like he did mine. So share Jesus, show love to one another. Forgive, listen, show compassion, help those in need, and never, never, never quit. So today, raise a glass and join me in my celebration of life. Peace.